and revealing secrets.
Viewer discretion is advised. The views expressed in the following program are solely those of the individuals providing them, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of Channel 82 or its affiliates.
Real news, real issues, real people. It's Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
What's up, Bermuda Real family? How you doing? Nice to see you again since the last time around when we went with Messina House and this new charity that's opened up a homeless shelter up in the Dockyard area. I want to thank you all for all the feedback. I've had my ears chopped at length over the past few weeks. Tonight, though, we're going to go somewhere different. It's related, but it's a sidebar. And how it went basically was after that story aired on April 11th, someone reached out to me from a charity that I've had on my radar for a long time. And based on that conversation, we decided we're going to step out of Messina for 1 minute, mainly because that's a story that I was working on for 5 months. At the time when we were ready to shoot video, none of the area residents wanted to go on camera. Since the initial piece has gone, y'all are lining up to go on camera. So to get you organized, we're pushing you back. That decision's not going to be made until the end of May. Having said that, let me do some house cleaning first. You may note that I sound like Kermit the Frog. This is like the first allergy season in many years. I'm facing allergy issues from Hal, so excuse my voice. I barely have one. I'm barely breathing right now. But here's the good news. Ceola Wilson does not miss her own deadlines unless she's dead. I'm still breathing. Just barely. So we're here. Tonight I'm going to introduce you to a woman who has told her story to many people who have trained for this certificate. Those of you who know me personally, not professionally, but personally, would know that I have two fiercest pet peeves as a journalist coming up on 40 years of covering some horrible things in this country. And that's people who violate, hurt, victimize, or abuse our children and our seniors. Now, having said that, we're going to go there because in Bermuda, we like to sweep stuff up under the carpet, okay? So much so that we got piles around here looking like Mount Everest. And everybody says, keep it quiet. I want you to understand something when it comes to hurt people. Hurt people grow up to hurt people. But we don't want to talk about that. But we're going to talk about it tonight. Having said that, if you are within earshot of my voice, my face, this video, the song, in the presence of children, it's time to get them out the room. This story is about the children. It's about them. It's not for them. It's for you. You might hear some things that resonate with you. All I'm asking you to do is sit back, listen, and understand if the cap fits, you will wear it, because what you do in the dark will always come to light.
We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned. This program is brought to you by title sponsors Bermuda Healthcare Services and SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets.
Child sexual abuse has a voice. It's called pain. Learn what you can do to minimize the risk. Get SCARS certified. This message is brought to you by SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets. Please visit scarsbermuda.com for more information.
Just the other day, a lady called and said, sign me up for the training because it happened to me and I never told anyone and I want to be able to help. And that little comments like that are huge. I was the voice behind the phone at SCARS, and she felt empowered to be able to say that. When I was in the store just yesterday, and I had my name tag on and SCARS, and this lady came up to me and she said, you guys are doing an amazing job, and it's, you know, it's helped me. I was able to talk to my children, which I was embarrassed to talk to them. It's made me realize that it wasn't my fault what happened to me, you know, and it makes me proud. It's like, okay, I'm a part of that. That's a great thing.
For more than 30 years, Bermuda Healthcare Services and the Brown Darrell Clinic have provided state-of-the-art diagnostic choices to the people of Bermuda. We were the first facility outside the hospital to establish a full array of imaging services. Under the skillful supervision of Dr. Mahesh Reddy, we offer CAT scanning, ultrasound, echocardiography, X-ray, and MRI scanning. Our team of highly skilled technologists hold outstanding credentials, and our staff will ensure that your visit is comfortable and confidential. If you would like to experience our private care, feel free to let your doctor know. Our CT and MRI results are available from the Leahy Clinic in 24 hours or less. For more information, check our website at bhcs.bm or call us at 236-2810. Building trust, one patient at a time.
Real news, real issues, real people. It's Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
Just one more thing before we get into this. God willing, by the time this show airs at 7 o'clock Monday night, whatever the date is, my mom will have turned, God willing, 92 years young on April 23rd, 1930. I want to say happy birthday, Mommy. I'm not sure what the plan is because you canceled all our plans. I asked you, did you want to go out for lunch? You said no. I asked you, do you want flowers? You said you can't eat flowers. And then you told me if I have money for lunch and flowers, I should just give you the money. So hopefully by Monday you will have the money, and we'll try this again next month. Having said that, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself. Her name sounds Hollywoodish, right? I want to tell you that when we did this very painful briefing for this interview the other day, the woman was highly passionate, very emotional, but she said a few things that resonated with me. One of them was Scars is celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. And I said to myself, wow, because BermudaReal.com this year is in its 9th year. And I could see my first decade around the corner. So she's like a beacon of light to me. I'd like to introduce you to our guest tonight, the founder of Scars. On our platform, welcome to BermudaReal.com. Miss Debbie, tell everybody your name and let's get into it.
So thank you so much, Ceola, for having me. My name is Debbie Ray Rivers, and I am the founder and the executive director of a nonprofit in Bermuda called SCARS, and that stands for Saving Children and Revealing Secrets. And SCARS was founded October 27, 2001. So we just indeed had our 10th anniversary.
So most of the people you have certified over the years would know the story. As I stated, I've had Scars on my radar for many years, just never made it. But as you know, all things come in his time, not ours. So having said that, you walked me through a very painful story about betrayal by your mother, who's still alive, about her husband, your daughter's stepfather.
Grandfather.
Yes, grandfather. About things that happened to you as a little girl. So walk my audience through it, please.
I'll begin by saying my mom's birthday is the same day as your mom's birthday, April 23rd. Happy birthday to her. So in 2004, I found out that both of my two little girls had been sexually molested by my mother's husband. They were 9 and 10 at the time, and he was 78. He as you can imagine, when I found out about my oldest daughter, who had been abused at his hands for 4 years, I just couldn't figure out how I missed it. How it went was he had sexually molested my youngest, and she told right away. And then we found out about my oldest, who was abused at his hands for 4 years. And as you know, it just rocked my world. I couldn't believe it. It was one of the darkest days of my life. I just couldn't believe how a man who posed as a grandfather figure, and he was a devout church member, who was teaching my now husband and I one of the books in the Bible at the time, could do this. You know, did he have bad moments? Like, I was just shocked. Like, but I believed my daughters immediately, and I had to confront it. I had to let my mom know, and my mother. You know, her words were, "He's a very sick man." And then I went through a journey of trying to figure out, you know, next steps. And I made a phone call to another family member, and he said, you know, this has to be reported, you know, sexually harming children is against the law, and you need to reach out and first get your children some help and report it. And so I didn't know anything about Child Protective Services. I didn't even know they existed. And I did that. It took a while. It took a few months. The school was very supportive, but I was the one that ended up, you know, having to report it, which was very difficult. And I let the family know that this is what I'm going to do.
But one would think your mom would have left this man. That didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
You said she was your best friend and you were betrayed. How do you feel about that?
Saddened, actually. You know, but people have choices, and I've realized that she had a choice to make. She had a choice to...
But why do women, because I've covered cases, I won't say whose case, I can't really remember all the names, but I was in court one day, and this man, this mother's boyfriend, was having active sexual relations with the mother and her 2 teenage daughters. It didn't come out until a certain venereal disease came up. But this woman, when the judge sentenced her boyfriend to jail for having sexual relations with minors, got up in court and screamed, "But that's my man." And I turned and looked at this woman, wanted to know what was wrong with her. So based on your experience, what do you say? Nobody expects their mom to support betrayal. We come from a place where, well, how was she dressed? What did she have on?
Yeah.
I've been in a drug recovery meeting, you know how you listen with your eyes closed. And this woman was talking about her road to heroin addiction. And she said, I got up and went talked to my mother, who was also my sister. Oh, my reporter is wrong. How could that be? When she kept talking, come to find out Mr. and Mrs. Mom and Dad, honorable members, sat up in the front row of church. That woman stayed married to that man, knowing he had sexual relations with every last one of her daughters that they produced. It didn't erupt until Papa was trying to go for the great-grands. Sound familiar?
Yeah, I hear a lot of stories.
So what is that about?
You know what I think it's about, Ceola?
I don't know.
Self-worth. Many people who are in relationships with people that harm children have low self-esteem themselves and suffer from, lack of self-worth. It could be some sort of confusion with their religious background. I have to stay married. I have to support my husband. But it's hurtful. It's very painful. But I will say this: my mom was a good mom. She loved her children, and she nurtured us, and she supported us, and she loved us, and she did introduce us to God, to a higher, to this power greater than us. And I'm grateful for that. I have things that I'm grateful for. But there had to be boundaries put up when it comes to my children. And I had to make some really difficult choices. I gave her a choice, that if she left him, I would take care of her for the rest of her life. But if she stayed with him, there would be consequences to that, and there would be boundaries in our relationship. I would love her from afar. I didn't hate her. I don't have any hatred in my heart at all, but there were going to be consequences because no one is above the law. Even our husbands, our relatives, our golf buddies, the people we care about, our coworkers. No one is above the law when it comes. Our husbands, our wives, our aunts, our uncles, because sexual abuse doesn't discriminate. A perpetrator can be anyone. But no one is above the law when it comes to this. There are consequences that children have to see that my mom or my dad or this person in my life will do anything to protect me. And that might mean, a broken relationship with a relative or somebody that you're close to.
So what happened when you were abused as a child? Did you ever tell?
No, not till my late 30s.
Because why?
Well, and I didn't start Scars because of me. Let me just say that. I pushed down all my own abuse for years. It didn't come out till my late 30s. A lot of it was, I'm a perfectionist. Perfectionism is one of the symptoms of survivors, according to research. I didn't want my life not to be perfect. I had already found out at the age of 19 that by my mom that I was the product of rape, that the man who married her and she was pregnant with me was not my biological father.
You didn't find that out
until I was 19 when my parents went through a divorce. Not a very nice divorce. And then I found out that he wasn't my biological father, but he was a great father. And he did, he loved me and he loved my younger brother, which was his son. And so, and then I lived my life. I lived through my younger adult years and, early years, just many times not making good choices. But now I understand myself.
So when you say that, you're saying as a teenager, what, you ran wild? And
I lost my
virginity. People are going to say, this look like a well-to-do white woman.
Yeah, well, what you see on the outside is not necessarily a story of, somebody's story. And no, I am not perfect. I can tell you that. I had a lot of sexual partners. That is not a secret with my children and my now wonderful husband. I did. I confused the act of sex with love, with intimacy. It was just an act. If I didn't have sex, no one was going to love me. No one was going to care about me. That was the way I felt worthy and important, was by the act, having the act, this act of sex. And
while you mention that, let me just hold this up. I see students on the bus with expensive phones, access to the internet. I often wonder, do their mothers, parents even know what they're doing on the internet? Because we've had young girls who've exposed themselves physically on this telephone, sent it to a guy they gave it up to, published that information, and killed themselves. Mm-hmm. You think people even know? Do they care?
It's definitely a problem. I would say to parents, as I say in our trainings, know where your children are going on their devices. Go to a wonderful website that we have here in Bermuda, cybertips.bm. Find out, what you can do to help keep your child safe. Because I can tell you one thing. Sexual predators are looking for children on those devices. And if you know anything, over COVID, when we were in lockdown and shelter in place, there were, according to the webinars that I was in all over the world, there were over 500,000 predators looking for children on their devices to groom them. So if you're a parent with a child that has a device, which most children do, please know where they are, please know where they're going, please know who they're communicating with, because that is a perfect place to groom children. There's a lot of great things about the internet, but there's also things that we need to be very cautious about, because children will be groomed. And that's why we say, we need to build our children's self-esteem and their self-worth, to let them know that they're beautiful no matter what, that they're special, that their private body parts are special and private. That is not where you find self-worth.
No, but it's funny you mention that, because when my son was in primary school, I had a conversation when he was at that age where he wanted to be independent. Now, I live by the road. We have a lot of tracks. He wanted to ride his pedal bike, which we're close enough to do. But to do that, he'd have to go through the tracks. I remember the day I had to sit this old boy down and explain to him that some serious nasty things happens to little boys on the tracks.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
And then I asked him, I said, do they tell you children anything about if a stranger comes and you got a puppy and you come instead of mommy or daddy? He said, no. I said, well, what do they tell you? He said, don't do drugs, mama. They don't tell you don't go with Uncle George. If you're uncomfortable, go run to the off. They don't tell you that. But the other culture we come from with children, his parents will say what happens in this house stays in this house. When they know a lot of madness is going on in the house. What is that about Bermuda?
Well, you know, I
think because you know what? We say what's in your wallet while we're chasing paper, but nobody wants to talk about what's in the closet.
Yeah.
And then nothing's changed. You mentioned how we used words back in the day like so-and-so was interfered with. Just the language. Just having to walk your daughters through that court system.
Yeah.
Until you, a lot of this stuff didn't exist.
Well, it's not me. I don't want to take the
until
glory.
Scars.
Scars. Yeah, until Scars came to educate our people, to know that this is not okay to use children for sexual pleasure. It will cause pain. And sometimes children will live with that for so many years without even understanding what happened to them. There's so much confusion. There's so much shame, Ceola. Nothing silences us more than shame. Shame keeps people quiet. And sexual abuse is very shameful, you know, and we don't want to hurt others.
Why? Like the women feel what?
It's their fault, and men, or I did something wrong, or what did I do to cause this? Or, you know, so, you know, I was...
And let me stop you. Yeah. It's different, a whole different thing when little boys are sexually abused. It's harder for a little boy to admit that in a courtroom.
It is. It really is. And we have a lot of male survivors. And it's just so sad because I think it affects, you know, sometimes their sexuality. You know, boys were meant to be protectors, you know, be able to defend themselves. That's how little boys are made. We know that. And when a little boy has been inappropriately touched, or you know, someone has had sex with them, or, you know, whether it's a male or a woman, you know, they get older and they're like, why? Because no child says, oh, I love this. I'm sorry. No child is going to say this is right. They don't even understand what's happening to them. But then a boy will get older and say, you know, why didn't I protect myself? Wasn't I able to stop that? I've spoken to male survivors who had this guilt and hatred towards themselves for not being able to stop it. But they couldn't stop it. They were younger. They were less powerful. These are people who are more powerful than them, you know, and bigger, larger individuals. And they couldn't stop it. You know, whether it's any type of abuse, a little child cannot defend themselves. And children were never meant to come into this world to be harmed. They were meant to be saved, safe and protected. And that means sexually, emotionally, physically, everything. And what we do to children is going to cause them to be affected as adults. And where does that pain go? Some people, that pain goes to drinking out of a bottle, to run away, numb out. Some pain, like me, is to have sex with, you know, as many people as you can, partners as you do, to feel that self-worth. Some, you know, it can be an eating disorder, bulimia, anorexia. Some, it can be drugs, you know, numb out. You know, I don't want to feel this. This pain is too much for me. You know, some can be, you know, sadness, depression, suicidal thoughts. You know, not be able to focus in school. So they drop out of school. You know, they're angry. So they take out their anger on everybody else and they hurt other people because they were hurt. Nobody protected them. I've heard somebody say that. Nobody protected me when I was little. I don't care about anything or anyone. People are going to have to suffer the way I suffered. That little person shouldn't have suffered. And we need to take child protection very seriously, not only in this country, all around the world. Bermuda is no different than anywhere else. But I will tell you one thing. The people of Bermuda are taking child protection seriously. You know, when you start educating in a community that says this is what happens when we don't protect kids, drug addiction, alcohol, promiscuity, suicidal thoughts, people dropping out of school, unable to focus, depression, mental illness.
Everything was seen on.
Where did we think, I said this in one of the first interviews, I was really horrible at it and I was holding my paper shaking, but where do we think pain goes? When children are abused, when children aren't protected, when children aren't nurtured and cared for. You know, I think you know, from being promiscuous and perfectionist, I think what happened to me, not to go down a road of things that harmed myself even worse, was because I was loved. I was nurtured as a child. But you take a child who's been abused, and then a child that isn't cared for, isn't sheltered, you know, isn't fed, isn't cared for the moment they cry, held and said, I love you, many times, that could take a child even further deeper into issues. We have to let our children know that we love them, that they are important and they are valuable. And no, we might not be able to provide them everything, but we love them. You don't need money to love. You don't need money to say, I love you.
But
you're everything to me.
When I think of that charity announced a few years ago, and thank you, Nadia, for sending me the information. It was with the Bascom brothers talking about the North Village Club and that predator. When I think about it, though, there were hundreds of people that knew what was going on, and everybody stayed quiet. What is that?
No education. No education. Nobody understood years ago. That wouldn't happen today. Because people have been educated to understand the effects that child sexual abuse has. The effects that you're not allowed to do that to children. More eyes are on our children, Ceola. I really believe that. North Village was one of the first community clubs that did our training years ago. They realized that there was obviously an issue years ago. I didn't even know about that history when I started SCARS. But they're the organization that said, we're doing this training and we're getting our coaches in a room to be educated because we don't want anything else to happen to the hundreds of children we take care of. And guess what? The training that SCARS provides, this educational tool that's free to our community, thanks to our corporate and community donors, is mandated by North Village Club now, Community Club. And guess what North Village Community Club did? When we trained them, there was a coach in that room who said, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about this. We have a situation here where I think we need to look at. I'm the coach who waits at the end of all the matches for the parents. And, you know, we were talking about one-on-one, isolated one-on-one situations. Remember, sex offenders don't do this in front of other people. They're going to look for those isolated one-on-one. They're not going to sexually abuse a child in front of their coworker. No, they're going to hide it. It's going to be hidden. So what we want organizations to do is to scan their environment and see if there's any risk. That's what we teach. When we teach our adults and our youth-serving organizations, we say, scan your environment. Are there any risks? How do you minimize that opportunity? Sexual abuse is preventable. Well, North Village, they said, no. One of the coaches, I'll never forget, he said, we have something here, a risk. He said, I'm the coach who waits at the end of the matches for the parents. Well, there's always a parent who's late. That leaves me on the field with one child. That's a risk to North Village. It's a risk to children. I might not be always that coach who's waiting for those children. What are we going to do? And guess what North Village did? They put in a policy called the tripod policy. There's always two adults waiting with the children at the end of all the matches. That immediately minimized that risk.
But when that story broke, I heard men who knew about the sporting field said it wasn't just North Village. It was this club, and guys from this area knew that they couldn't be a top baller unless they did certain things. You're telling me the BFA didn't know? Wendy Hood knew? Uncle Johnny is a freak. Yeah. They all knew what he was doing. They all knew who he was doing it to. Nobody said nothing. What is that?
That's uneducation. Not educated. Not being educated and understand the damage that this caused. Protecting other people. Listen, the word sex is a very uncomfortable topic. We couldn't even call a penis years ago. We gave it all sort of names. Willie, Boy, Johnson. We couldn't call it, oh yeah, anything you could call it, you called, but you didn't call it a penis. So much shame around the private parts. So much shame around the body. I mean, I didn't have enough conversations with my own children about body safety. I left that up to a book, Miss America doll, I think it was. I had one conversation, I bathed them, say, nobody touches your privates. I didn't want to have male babysitters because the man who abused me was a male babysitter. So I just didn't have male babysitters, but I trusted other people because I didn't really understand that a sex offender can be anyone. And I was so uncomfortable myself with the topic. I didn't have enough conversation. It's not just a one-time conversation. You know, it's a conversation that we're trying to encourage our parents to start early and talk often. Let children know their body parts are special and private. Nobody should touch them, view them, or take pictures of their private parts, and they shouldn't do it to others. You know, we hear a lot about child-on-child abuse. I've heard so many stories, cousin on cousin, brother, sister, you know, brother on brother, sibling on sibling. And I think that's because as parents, we didn't sit down, siblings together, and talk about, listen, your private parts are private, you don't touch each other, nobody touches you. Not in a punitive way, but a way to say those are very special and private. Listen, sex feels good, okay? So sometimes children explore because their body is responding to something. But if nobody's taught them about boundaries and that their body is very special, and they don't touch or view or take pictures of others and let nobody do that to them, you know, how do they know when their behavior has crossed the line? How will they know that if they're not taught that? And that we can't depend on schools to teach them that, only schools. It's not just a conversation during, you know, during school for 1 minute, you know, during a semester. It's a conversation that we want children to feel comfortable with.
We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned. This program is brought to you by title sponsors Bermuda Healthcare Services and SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets.
For more than 30 years, Bermuda Healthcare Services and the Brown Darrell Clinic have provided state-of-the-art diagnostic choices to the people of Bermuda. We were the first facility outside the hospital to establish a full array of imaging services. Under the skillful supervision of Dr. Mahesh Reddy, we offer CAT scanning, ultrasound, echocardiography, X-ray, and MRI scanning. Our team of highly skilled technologists hold outstanding credentials, and our staff will ensure that your visit is comfortable and confidential. If you would like to experience our private care, feel free to let your doctor know. Our CT and MRI results are available from the Leahy Clinic in 24 hours or less. For more information, check our website at bhcs.bm or call us at 236-2810. Building trust, one patient at a time.
Build your child's self-esteem and confidence. Child sex offenders like to target the child who might not tell. This message is brought to you by SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets. Please visit scarsbermuda.com for more information.
This program is brought to you in part by Project Action and Sensei Roots Phillips and Zenji Ru Bermuda Karate Do, raising the level of discipline through martial arts for countless students in Bermuda and internationally over the years. Real news, real issues, real people. It's Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
So I was surprised to hear in our talks that a lot of people don't know that there's no statute of limitations on sexual abuse. That's why here recently you're seeing cases that happened years ago. But do you think it's because people are more aware now, or that it's happening more now, or a bit of both?
I think more people are aware. I really do. I think we've turned this on its head. It's not okay anymore. Do we still have perpetrators out there? Of course we do. But I think people now understand the effects of this and what it has done. Thank goodness our legislators and our advocates and the people who worked, in a lot of these agencies long before SCARS put in this law of, no statute of limitations. And what that means is you can prosecute 45 years later, as I did. And it's not for revenge and retribution. It's to protect kids.
But
it's to interrupt that behavior, Ceola.
In your children's step-grandfather's case, ultimately you only got a slap on the wrist. What happened?
Well, I think that's an area that we can do better in terms of sentencing. I think we need to have longer sentences so that perpetrators have an opportunity to get treatment. This is an illness. It's a sickness to be sexually attracted to a child. I mean, that's an illness, and it needs effective treatment.
But we just had a convicted person who attacked a young lady, took the air conditioning out. He was released from prison as a listed predator with no fixed abode. So where is he now? What happens with that? And why did he sit up Westgate all those years with no real treatment?
Well, I wish I could answer that. I mean, it doesn't make us happy. It is a risk because when sex offenders come out of Westgate and they haven't had effective child sex offender treatment, there's sex offender treatment up there.
Is it thorough? Is it what you need?
It wasn't a couple of years ago. I don't know if that's changed. I was asked about this, as you know, a couple of probably a month ago or now. I wish the right people would be asking those questions, because we do need the most effective child sex offender treatment for pedophiles, for those that are sexually attracted to children. It's a different treatment than those who rape adults. We're talking about two different types of things. Maybe some do both, but they definitely need the appropriate sex offender treatment, because they're going to come out just as sick as when they went in with this illness, and children will be at risk. And this is why it's so important that we have that, but it's so important that parents talk to their children so that children can self-advocate when they're not with their parents about body safety and about nobody should make you feel uncomfortable. Because the one thing about a sex offender, they're really bullies who use sex as a means of obtaining power. But if they have a child who says, no, I'm going to tell my mommy, guess what's going to happen? They're going to back off. They don't want to interrupt. They don't want anybody to find out what they're doing. So they're not going to take a risk on a child that might tell. They're going to target a child that won't tell. They're going to target a child where they're vulnerable. There aren't maybe adults in that child's life that they're afraid of, because they have fear like everybody else. One thing they're fearful of is getting caught. Otherwise, they would do this in front of other people. And some people say to me, well, I've had it in the training, it's, they're psychologically damaged. And I said, well, they can't be that damaged if they're hiding it. They're not sexually abusing children in front of other people. So there's something there that tells them this is wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't even hesitate and do it in front of others. But they don't do that. So there's something there that tells them it's not right. This is not okay. I'm hiding it. But I do believe that that this is why organizations who open their doors to children need to make sure that they have a strong message. Don't come work here. Our people are educated in prevention. Our eyes have been opened. We have very strict policies in terms of no isolated one-on-one situation. Every situation is interruptible. They have safe policies in terms of social media. No, one-on-one chats with the students.
But listen, let me ask you this, because this is a big gender thing and the LBGQ and this and the other. I really don't fuss about people's sexuality, as long as you don't poke with the babies and seniors. Yeah. But I have gay friends, men and women. In most of their cases, they were targeted by people close to them in their lives. In one case, a woman I know who I'm very close with was sexually abused by her father, who passed her around as a child like she was a trophy. She's still damaged to this day. I know women walking around with stuff that you just have never dealt with.
Yeah.
And men the same way. It's like even in the drug world, to me, I was shocked to find most of the brothers I ran into who were hard into heroin got their first dose from the daddy or the uncle. Who does that? What kind of people are we?
People who have not healed from their own pain. We as adults have a responsibility to heal.
But if you can't go look in the mirror at that man or woman staring back at you and be honest, how are you going to do this? Because we don't do that, you know. We like to point fingers in Bermuda. I still get it. Oh, she used to do drugs. She used to do this. She used to do that. I don't hear the recovery story.
Yeah.
I don't hear that she caught herself and paid off her mama's mortgage. I don't hear that. That's still stuck back there.
Yeah.
Like somehow you could hurt this woman right here. I don't live there no more.
Right. And be proud of that. Be proud. Don't worry about what others think.
No,
you
but
know, because,
Bermudians,
but they, yeah.
Bermudians take a special kind of delight out of your demise. There's something toxic and very sick about that. And it's not just the black community. It's across the board.
Yeah.
You said something the other day. You said, Ceola, you know who covers up their dirt and hides their stuff the best? I said, who? You said white people.
Nobody wants to think that their family isn't perfect. I mean, they want everybody to think their family is perfect. Listen, sexual abuse has no boundaries. It doesn't matter whether you're white, rich, black, poor, live in Tuckerstown, live in Middletown. I've heard all the stories. Doesn't matter if you're educated, uneducated, whether you go to Seventh-day Adventist Church, Evangelical, Catholic, Protestant, Methodist, Anglican. This stuff does not discriminate. Sex doesn't discriminate. Sex feels good no matter what color you are, how big you are, how tall you are, how ugly you are, how pretty you are, you know, how much money you have, where you live. It's everywhere. And I've heard thousands of stories from survivors of all. It doesn't discriminate. Sexual abuse doesn't. And, you know, so we can't say that this just lives in one community because it doesn't. This affects everybody.
But we're insular like that.
And it's sad. It's really sad. But what we have to look at is the heart. We have to look, and we have to say, as a community, we have to say, children first. Children first. Because what happens is, a lot of times, it's not only drugs, alcohol, you know, promiscuity, eating disorders, depression, sadness, mental illness. You know, it just affects you in terms of trusting people. When you're betrayed, it's really hard to trust other people because.
So you don't trust your mother anymore?
Well, I don't have to right now, right?
What about your daughters? They deal with her?
No, they've made the choice not to have a relationship.
And she's okay with that?
I don't think so.
Do you care?
I do, but I have to tell you one thing. After God, you know, it's my husband and my children before my mom. I have to put my children before my mom. And although I love my mother, I don't hate her. You know, I have forgiven her. No, I don't.
Did you hate her?
No, I didn't.
Never?
Mm-mm. I never hated her. My mother was a great mom, and she took care of her children. And
you think she regrets staying with this guy?
I don't know.
You didn't ask her?
No.
You don't want to know?
No, because she made her decision. She made a choice.
It hurt.
And it hurt. It hurt her grandchildren deeply. I had to focus on getting my children healed. I could not focus on the relationship that I lost. I had to focus on healing my babies.
Are they healed?
They are on their healing journey. Do you know how long healing takes? It takes a lifetime. You can ask me as a 60-year-old woman, am I healed? Some people will say, no, she's not, because she's got issues. You know, she don't trust anybody. I don't know if we're all 100% healed. I know that what happened to me as a child, as an 8-year-old little girl who was sexually molested by a 25-year-old male babysitter, family friend, I know that I'm not 100% healed. There are always scars.
Have you seen him since?
No.
Never.
Not since I went to, you mean after I prosecuted him, you mean? And he, in the courtroom?
Tell me what happened with that.
Yeah, so sex offenders come to SCARS trainings.
Right.
I always say in a training.
So this guy who molested you showed up to be trained?
He did.
And what happened?
Well, because, thank goodness, the Department of Health, we have, an amazing Department of Health who mandated that those who take care of children, whether they're a daycare center, a home care provider, nursery school, must do SCARS training, and we're grateful for that. So he was going to be his daughter's backup in her daughter's home care setting, and so he had to he had to get a SCARS certification.
So what happened?
So it was pre-COVID. We were in classrooms at the time, and I was standing at the entrance of the classroom. It was on a Saturday morning, and I could see way down the hallway of the building him coming down towards me, and I looked at my volunteer, who was the volunteer standing next to me, and I said, I got to leave. The man who abused me as a little girl is coming down towards me, and I can't stay. He's here, he's here.
Right.
And I got in the elevator, and I got downstairs, and the male facilitator who was going to facilitate that day with me, co-facilitate, I just said to him, I'm going home. I can't stay, the man that abused me. And I got in my car, and, I got as far as King Street from Wesley Street, and this voice just said, I had called my husband and said, I'm on my way home. This voice said, like, go back, Debbie, like, he has no more power over you. He can't hurt you anymore. Go back, that's your training room. So I went back to the training room, and I sat at the back of the room with some support. Survivors need support. And I sat back there, and my co-facilitator trained by himself, and when he went around the room asking why everybody was there, that's when he said, I'm here, I'm going to be my daughter's backup, help her take care of, the children. And I was, like, floored, like, here's a man that used my body for pleasure, and he now is going to take care of kids. So it did take me a few months to build up my courage, and I knew I had to go confront him. I'm a child advocate in the community. I would have been what's the word called? I would have been a fake as an advocate if I didn't deal with this.
So what happened?
So I went to his house with my co-facilitator. I didn't want to go alone. I asked him if he'd go with me, and I asked him when I arrived there if he remembered me, and first he said no, and then I told him my maiden name, and he goes, oh yeah. And then he remembered me. He said, oh, you're Bobby's daughter, which was his friend, the man that raised me, and my dad. And he said, yeah. I said, yes. And he said, oh, I said, you remember what you did to me when I was a little girl? And he admitted. He said, yes. I said, how old was I? Because I thought I was about 9 or 10. You just can't remember every detail when you've been abused 45 years later. And he told me that I was 8 years old, and I said, how old are you now? He said 72. So I figured out he was 25 or 26 when I said I was only 8 years old when you were there to babysit me, not use my body to gain sexual pleasure for yourself.
What'd he say?
And he said, you're right. He put his head down. He said he was sorry. He asked me for forgiveness. He told me that he had been talking to his pastor about it. He wondered where I was all these years, which was not true, because he would run into me at the post office. He ran into me in a grocery store, and he would make me speak to him. So I didn't think that was true. It wasn't I didn't believe him when he said that.
Okay.
And then he said, he put his head down, and then he lifted his head up, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, but you wanted me to do it.
And you said?
This meeting's over. I knew exactly what I had to do when I left that house. I had to call, and I did. I called the police. Because I knew as an advocate there's no statute of limitations in Bermuda.
So what happened?
I reported him. Well, I went through a court case.
And what did he get?
And he got, I think, 3 months.
Did it help in the end?
I don't think so. I mean, how do you get better in 3 months, Ceola?
No,
how do you get better in 3 months?
Did him getting sentenced make you feel better?
Not really. I mean, you know what made me feel good?
No.
He sits on a convicted sex offender list, and he can't take care of kids.
So what's the deal with that list? Is it public? Like, I could Google and see who's who?
No.
But what's the problem with that? What is the problem with that?
Well, I think it's because we're a small community, and I think they're afraid of, retribution, vigilantism, I think is the word's called, I've been heard. SCARS on our website, we have any case that went into the newspaper is on our website under child sex offenders. And I suggest people Google people before you're dating them, before you bring them into your organization. Find out if they sit on a convicted sex offender list, but that's not the be-end-all of end-all. Because not everybody's going to sit on a list,
right,
Ceola.
But let me tell you something, right? Because my mom's old school. Ended up, I learned through the death of my father, divorced first husband. But she talked to her girls coming up about being a single parent with daughters, how she as a mother had to watch who she brought home around her children. In today's world, you got girls dating guys and they don't even really know. I mean, and the minute she turns her back, he's looking at your little daughter.
Red flag. Red flag. But you see, the person, the mother, needs to have self-worth herself to say, absolutely not. I am worthy, and you should not be looking at my daughter and finding my daughter attractive. You know, a mom needs to have her own self-worth to say, I'm sorry, that is not okay.
But if she's damaged, what's happening? See, people say it takes
Cycle.
a village. But if the village has gone haywire, what we doing?
Yeah. Well, that's why, Ceola, education is so important. This is why shows like this are so important. We need to educate our community. This is not okay. Children need to stay as innocent for as long as they can, because we already know that this will cause an emotional scar. It will, and a wound that is very deep, and it can change a child's life forever. It can change a child's life forever, and this is why we need to protect our children. We need to do everything we can. We want all 53,000 adults in our community to hear this message, and not only hear it, then apply it. It's so important. There's so much education out there. I mean, I'm so grateful to our Department of Education mandate this curriculum in the schools. So many of our sporting organizations, so many of our camps and our clubs, our churches are mandating this educational tool.
But they turned you down in the beginning. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, as a charitable organization, I don't know. I don't know. I was in tears. We applied in April 2011, and we received a letter that said the services were already being provided to the community in terms of prevention. I knew in my heart that was not true. And so did our past chairman, John Brunson. And we just decided that we were going to appeal it and not go after the government for that, because that never really works. You don't point fingers, right? That doesn't accomplish anything. Right. What you want to do is you want to state your case and let people understand, listen, this is important. There is nobody doing prevention in Bermuda.
Sure.
Nobody's providing this. And Minister Michael Weeks, who was the minister at the time, and Marva O'Brien, his permanent secretary, we met with them and we gave our plea. And they listened and they did the right thing, and they gave us permission and to become a charity. And thank goodness, because it's opened the eyes of so many. And I do believe it's helped children. You see, prevention is hard to measure. You can't measure prevention education.
Well, I know it's worth more than a pound of cure.
Yes, and I think also it's helping our survivors to know that what happened to them was not their fault. They did nothing wrong, and help you understand why you make the choices in your life, where that pain came from, and that we can heal. But it takes time, and everybody heals at a different, it's a different journey for everybody. Sure. We can't tell somebody to heal.
We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
Training may end at 6 o'clock. It's getting fairly dark early now. But coaches know, and the administrators know as well, that even though a parent may be a bit late picking up their child, they know that that child and that adult should never be in the same spot at the same time. There's always what we call the tripod effect, where there's a young person and two adults. So we practice that up until today. So it's great to know that the team administrators, which are the youth parents and the coaches, are still understanding the importance of protecting the children.
For more than 30 years, Bermuda Healthcare Services and the Brown Darrell Clinic have provided state-of-the-art diagnostic choices to the people of Bermuda. We were the first facility outside the hospital to establish a full array of imaging services. Under the skillful supervision of Dr. Mahesh Reddy, we offer CAT scanning, ultrasound, echocardiography, X-ray, and MRI scanning. Our team of highly skilled technologists hold outstanding credentials, and our staff will ensure that your visit is comfortable and confidential. If you would like to experience our private care, feel free to let your doctor know. Our CT and MRI results are available from the Leahy Clinic in 24 hours or less. For more information, check our website at bhcs.bm or call us at 236-2810. Building trust, one patient at a time.
Teach your child the difference between a secret and a surprise. Child sex offenders ask children to keep secrets. This message is brought to you by SCARS, Saving Children and Revealing Secrets. Please visit scarsbermuda.com for more information.
This program is brought to you in part by Project Action and Sensei Roots Phillips and Zenji-Ru Bermuda Karate Do, raising the level of discipline through martial arts for countless students in Bermuda and internationally over the years. Real news, real issues, real people. It's Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
Watching this program and you want to know more about what to look for in terms of red flags or where to go to get help, because SCARS doesn't really do that, you say?
So we say go to, for children, to get the healing, call the Family Center. We have all the resources, names of some resources on our website. Government has resources of healings places. You can go to Solstice, the Coalition for the Protection of Children, Milestones Limited. I mean, there's all the agencies are on our website, scarsbermuda.com, and go to the tab that says Resources for Healing.
Now, I know you don't want to bash the government, but there are critics who say, why is something of such social significance being run by charities? Why don't we have structure? Because the Department of Child and Family Services is not the best run department based on its own track record. We've had babies die on their watch.
Yeah, I just think, there's always room for improvement. I think, in any organization, leadership is really important. Training is really important. I think people have, intentions are good. Their hearts are in the right place. But I think we need accountability, and I think, that's really important in this type of thing. We need children to know that they're, constantly supported. What child, really wants to leave and be away from, their home, their families? I know Child and Family Services do work with intervention and, are trying to get families, doing the intervention on the parents, because what child doesn't want the person who brought them into the world not to be in their life? All they want is their mom or dad to be in their life. No child is going to thrive without their parents. I don't care who you are. You might have someone else that's going to love you as much, and you can really, I think you can do well in life with that, but at the end of the day, you want the people that brought you into this world, if they're still in this world, to be there for you. I don't think any child wouldn't want that. So I just think it's a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult topic, and I just think we all have to work hard, and we have to put ourselves in the place of that child. So, how would I feel? How would I feel if nobody, if I didn't get a phone call? How would I feel if how would I feel? We have to look at the children.
Sure. So in the last week and a half or so of April Awareness Month, what's going on?
Well, SCARS is doing a tip of the day. We're on YouTube and we're on all of the social media sites, a tip of the day for parents. In the beginning we did what children should know. We did what every parent should know. We're supporting the coalition, wearing blue, even though today's not Friday. They have a campaign. They do great work over there. The Family Center and SCARS did an article together about, an outfit is never an invitation. It's just awareness. But to be honest, Ceola, National Child Abuse Prevention is every day. You know, I know they're highlighting it for this month in April, but for us, it's every day. We have to do everything we can to make sure that our children are safe every day. And so, you know, doing this show in April is so important and impactful because we're providing education and awareness. This is real. And you're real. And this show is real. You know, we haven't fluffed anything. We can't fluff anything when it comes to child sexual abuse. We can't. We have to be real about this because people really do get hurt. And, you know, I think for years we weren't reacting responsibly to this issue, letting people, you know, out of Westgate, you know, moving them to transitional living after 3 months, letting them go to a public event where there are children, pedophiles, convicted pedophiles. We never do that today. You know, things have changed. I believe that, and we've seen it at SCARS. And so we as a country should be very proud. We have trained the most people. We've trained over 11,000 people in this country. That's about 20% of our adult population have now been educated. We're the first country in the world that hit tipping point. You know, tipping point is a theory written by a man named Malcolm Gladwell who says if you can affect 5% of your given population on a certain behavior, you can start changing behavior. I think it's called, you know, little things make a difference.
So
we've seen that happen.
So 10 years in, how's the journey? Just heating up, getting better?
Yeah, getting better. We have 53,000 adults. We want every adult to do our 3-hour training. We're grateful to all the organizations who have mandated this education, and we want more parents in the room. You have a child, do yourself a favor and your children a favor. Get educated. Know what you can do to protect your little one from being harmed. If you're out there and you're sexually attracted to a child, go get some help. That's a sickness. It is not okay to use children for your sexual addiction. It's not okay. Get some help. Reach out. We have amazing organizations in this country that help with trauma, any trauma. But that, you know, to be sexually attracted to a child, you know, that's a sickness, and you need help because you are damaging children. And you're taking away their future, basically. You could be.
Their innocence, for sure.
Oh, you're stealing their innocence. Never to get back.
So I'd like to come back, maybe go live one evening and talk to some survivors if they want to.
Yeah, I'd love that. I think, you know, revealing is healing.
You think so?
It is. It really is, because you're keeping that secret deep down, and that just makes you feel terrible. We got to get that out. Put it out in the light.
I tell them like that, what's in your wallet? What's in your closet? There's a lot of dirt up in that closet, you know.
It is, and I think we need to put that dirt out in the light. None of us are perfect. I am not perfect. Nobody's perfect except God. And we need to reveal that. We need to get it out.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for reaching out. Hopefully you'll come back again.
Are you kidding me?
Sure.
I'll come back anytime.
We'll be back again in 2 weeks, people. I got another blockbuster, and it's with one of my brethren. I don't know how we're going to get through it because we fight, but it's a good story. I'll be seeing you in a minute. And somewhere around Bermuda Day before the end of May, we'll be getting back to Messina House. Hopefully, I'll have my voice back by then. Thanks for tuning in.
Child sex offenders push for isolated one-on-one time with a child. This message is brought to you by SCARS, Saving Children and Revealing Secrets. Please visit scarsbermuda.com for more information.
Did you know that the give way sign on the back of a bus is classified as a traffic sign that gives an order? According to the TCD Traffic Code Handbook, you must always give way to a bus at a bus stop when the driver has signaled